on the YouTube channel, and then we will officially start the podcast portion of it.
I gotta go grab my
Which
memory
will-
card.
And
quick.
that'll come out, what, Saturday, Jordan? The actual podcast will come out Saturday, right? Where'd he go? He's gone. He left.
He's gone. He left the building.
Hello. Anyone there? You guys hearing me?
Yo, yeah, I had to step away to grab the memory card. We are live. What's going on, YouTube gang? Thanks for joining us for another podcast tonight.
What's up, guys? We got a great guest for everyone that's already on the phone with us. We'll be talking to him. We're going to be talking to Joel Strickland from Surviving Duck Season and Cypress Crossing.
What's up, Northwest Fowlers? How you doing, man? Are you gonna have a chance to drop those links, Elliot?
Working on it now.
Do I not need to remind you ever?
No, I'm pretty much, yeah, you probably don't. I mean, I'm
Okay.
in the groove of doing it.
What's up? Yep. Coming in loud and clear.
He always leaves the most thoughtful messages or comments on videos. Yup.
What's up, Kevin? My buddy from up north in Michigan.
Is that Kevin A or Kevin B?
That's Kevin B.
So you'd be like one Kev and one Kevin or something.
Yeah, but the problem is they both go by Kev and they both go by Kevin.
Then you need to come up with some nicknames.
Yeah, right now it's just the Michigan boys, but Kevin B. Actually, I believe it's Kevin B's dog. They just got a new pup.
Nice. His dog had puppies?
No. They bought a duck dog puppy.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha.
I believe he did. I guess it wasn't clear which Kevin bought it, but I've seen it in all of his stories, so I believe it's Kevin's dog.
Well, that clears it up, Kevin. It's not Kevin's dog, it's Kevin's dog.
Yeah.
Did you see that on Fellowship of the Duck Guns, I terrorized someone and made them quit the group?
I did not. What happened? We need to hear the full
his first question was, will my gun work with extended full choke? And so I said, first question, why are you using extended full choke?
Oh,
and
I saw it. I didn't follow the whole thing.
Yeah, I wasn't like berating him or anything. I was just challenging him to explain why he wanted to use an extended full choke. And then when he started giving the old mantra, well, if I shoot him in close, I want to be able to kill him in close. And I said, well, all research suggests that modified chokes are the best gun from 20 to 35 yards. At which point he said that one of the administrators was trying to start an argument with him. So he was leaving the group. And I'm like, this is a discussion group. I wasn't being mean about it. I just think if you're going to use an extended full choke, I'm going to ask you to defend that choice, because to me, in my way of thinking, there's only one reason to have an extended full choke, and that's to shoot at an extended long range. There's no other in my way of thinking, there's no other reasonable reason to use an extended full choke. I mean, you don't want to shoot 15 yards with an extended full choke. You just don't. You're going to kill less ducks.
The ductator strikes again.
So I was just wanting him. I mean, if you have a time in which you disagree with someone, I mean, a viable option is just to, hey, explain your thinking to me. And then they explain their thinking, and then you nicely give counterpoints. And I felt like that was going on, and he decided to just leave the group. Sorry about that.
It's all right, I think.
As an administrator of the page, it doesn't mean I can't have some discussions.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, no, it's funny.
Joel's on with us. Joel, what is your opinion of extended full chokes?
That's for turkey hunting. I shoot modified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been shooting modified. I actually shot a little bit of improved modified as well, but mostly modified.
Sometimes when we hunt the timber, I'll shoot a skeet choke
Yeah, I believe
Awesome.
that.
Golden Boy's been shooting improved the whole year, and
Yeah.
he's shooting like 61%, killed 150 ducks. Improved is doing just fine for him. He's only lost like 3 ducks the whole year.
Yeah. All right. As long as we got all systems go, let's go ahead and jump into the recording. Before we do that, what's going on, David? What's up? Yup. TY Goom. Thanks for joining us, guys. The comment squad, as usual. We're going to go ahead and jump into the recording. Is that you, Elliot?
I just turned it off. It's actually my sister. You can talk to her about it.
What's going on, folks? Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Duck Gun Podcast. I'm Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles. I got my co-host alongside me, as usual, the Ductator and his ductating style, and already off to a hot start tonight. So thanks for joining us. And our guest for tonight is Joel Strickland. And Joel Strickland, he is known for his work in the filming industry. He was the creator of a popular outdoor TV series called The Adventure Bound Outdoors, as well as he is an Arkansas hunting guide from Cypress Crossing, as well as the creator of the YouTube channel that I'm sure many of you have seen this season, Surviving Duck Season. How are you doing tonight, Joel?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, Joel, you heard the conversation before we started the podcast, and you heard the way that Jordan described it. I don't know why it ruffles people's feathers so much just to discuss extended full chokes and why they may not be the best for duck hunting. What are your thoughts? Did Jordan slant that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, I shoot a modified choke. Occasionally, I'll shoot a skeet choke if we're in the timber and they're working in super duper close. A long range choke to me is something you do for turkey hunting. In fact, I don't even shoot a super long range for turkey hunting. I shoot a pull choke because to me it's all about getting them in close, anyways, even for the turkeys. And so I don't care nothing about making long range shots. We do have guys that come hunting with us that want to have long range chokes, and they're ready to shoot ducks at 40 or 50 yards. And number one, I don't care nothing about doing that. Number two, if you have this false sense of I can shoot a duck at a long way away, then you're going to more likely than not be crippling a bunch of birds, and that's no good.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And those of you that are listening, if you want to hear this little quick conversation we had about me causing someone to flee from Fellowship of the Duck Guns Facebook page, you can check us out on YouTube at Duck Gun Chronicles for our video version of this podcast. So I don't know. Jordan's always putting me in the worst light possible.
Hey, I'm just saying that the Ductator doesn't let anything slip in the Fellowship of the Duck Gun.
So the Ductator is a play on like the dictator somehow, and I don't know how Jordan came up with that. I guess because I do have some certain set beliefs around how far you should and shouldn't shoot waterfowl at. So, and we've discussed that. But anyway,
I'm still waiting on the drawing. I'm still waiting on the drawing of Elliot as the Ductator, either as like a potato or a tater tot.
What if I have my wife do it and she includes a little Hitler stash? Would that be appropriate or inappropriate?
It's probably be inappropriate, but that would be right up your alley. So,
see, oh my gosh, see, Jordan's a millennial, and around millennials, you can't say anything that might hurt their little senses. You can't disagree with anything, or they need their little safe space.
Is this where people say "Okay, Boomer"?
I don't know what that means. That's probably because I'm not a millennial.
You don't know what "Okay, Boomer" is? You haven't heard that one?
Yeah, boomers are like 70-year-old people.
Oh, okay.
That's from the baby boomer generation after World War II.
Really? It's that old?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's even like late 70s, because my parents, if you call them baby boomers, they get offended. And they're 74 and 75 because the baby boomers were kind of hippie generation, and my parents detested that generation. So if you call them baby boomers, because they were both alive during World War II. So a baby boomer was, when the guys came home from war, they had a lot of pent up energy, and so they
Testosterone.
made a
Yeah.
lot of babies.
Mm, mm.
So yeah.
So you're not a
Anyway,
boomer.
I'm Generation X. That's what you are too, right, Joel? Generation X.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Which is a decent generation. It was the last good, healthy, solid generation. So anyway, let's get on to talk more with Joel. Joel, give us a little overview. I know Jordan just hit it real quick, but kind of just a bullet point of the major things that you've got that you're involved in, and then we'll go back and we'll kind of go through them one by one and talk a little bit more about your life and kind of the big accomplishments.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm working film and television production is kind of my day gig most of the year. Make television commercials, episodic TV shows, um, promotional videos, and all kinds of stuff. And then when it comes to duck season, that's typically been a very slow time of the year for my business. And so I kind of like it that way because then I go duck hunting. And so off and on throughout my whole year, my whole life, since I've been an adult, I've guided, duck hunters and that sort of thing. In the last 9 years, I've been doing it full time at Cypress Crossing. And, so that's my part of November, all of December and January gig there. And then, have the YouTube channel Surviving Duck Season. I also have another YouTube channel that's called Mr. Producer Sir. And so I've got some parodies and music videos and things like that, personal projects that go on that one as well. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, what I do.
Yeah, and I don't know, Jordan, I don't think you've seen him. I'm not sure. I should have sent you the links. When Joel was up here, he showed me a few of his parody videos on what's it, Mr. Producer?
Mr. Producer Sir.
Mr. Producer, sir. And they're kind of like hunting parody videos, and who's the artist in most of them? Or
Yeah, it's Kevin Blake Weldon is the guy's name, and his label is called Funny Hunting Songs. That's kind of what he calls his music. He's got like 4 albums, and we've done quite a few music videos for them.
and they are hilarious. There's one where this girl gets mad at her boyfriend and breaks up with him, and the whole video is about how she went out and shot this buck that he'd been stalking for years, and he's crying through it, and it's hilarious. If you guys want, make sure and go check that out, that Mr. Producer shirt, because it is really, really funny, high quality stuff. When Joel gets to editing, man, he is absolutely a complete pro with it. It's phenomenal stuff. So, Joel, talk to us about how you got into duck hunting, or I don't know if you did any more, if you started out waterfowl hunting, or if there was other hunting involved. Just kind of go through your hunting life and how you got to this point.
Yeah. So I did not grow up hunting as far as like a little kid. My dad was not a hunter, but both my grandfathers and all of my uncles on both sides were big hunters. And every time we go visit, and Christmas and Thanksgiving, all that kind of stuff, the uncles and cousins and stuff would all be talking about hunting. And so I got taken on a deer hunting trip when I was, I don't know, like maybe 12 or 13, kind of went along for the ride. And then I decided I wanted to kind of try it out. So I went deer hunting. And I was talking with some friends about deer hunting at school. I was probably I guess I was 14. And one of my buddies was a big duck hunter. And he said, "Man, you need to come go duck hunting with us." My concept of a duck at that point, I just never thought about going duck hunting. I lived in Little Rock, Arkansas, but it's big deal. But I never really thought about going duck hunting, and so I'm just thinking about pond ducks, and like, okay, and so my buddy invited me to go with him that fall. We went to a public hunting area called Bayamita Wildlife Management Area, which is probably the most famous public hunting area in Arkansas. It's about 40,000 acres of flooded timber. It doesn't all flood. Probably about close to 30,000 of it does flood when it's at full stage. And man, it is, at that time, that was in the 80s. That was like in 1984, 85. and there wasn't a lot of people in there that you had to worry about getting in the way and all that. In fact, it's funny that it's probably less than a mile from where I took you duck hunting, Elliot, when you were down here last month, from the very spot that I shot my first duck. And so that on that first duck hunting trip we went on, my buddy picked me up at my house in Little Rock at 7 a.m. Okay, it's an hour and a half drive down there to Stuttgart to that hunting area, and I'm thinking, well, I thought you're supposed to go early. And he said, well, we go in there in the middle of the morning after the first guys who come in to shoot, they come out, and we're walking in when they walk out. I'm like, okay, so we walked into the flooded timber and got to the spot. We didn't carry any decoys with us. My buddy didn't even know how to call. He's like 16. I'm like 14, 15 years old. And we walk into the spot. We get there, and he says, okay, we're here. And he said, stand up next to a tree and keep your face down when the ducks start working. I'm like, okay. And within just a few minutes, ducks started flying. He started kicking the water, and the ducks started falling all around us and through the trees. And we shot a couple of times each and killed our limit. And we were walking out of there in like 15 minutes. And I was hooked.
That's it. Rest of your life changed.
That changed my life forever.
That's crazy. So no decoys, no calling. Is that the way you still hunt?
No.
If it was that easy all the time, we wish, right?
No kidding.
So from that point, progress was forward in your life and go run up to how you got into making a television show for the Outdoor Channel. Was it Outdoor Channel, Outdoor Network?
It was on the Outdoor Channel. Mm-hmm.
Outdoor Channel. And tell us a little bit about that show and what it was about and how you got there.
Sure. Yeah. So I got into photography and shooting film when I was in high school. The very first video cameras came out when I was probably a senior in high school, I guess. I don't remember exactly. But we were shooting on 8mm motion picture film. I helped the football team and shot films for the football games. I did all kinds of stuff like that. And so I was very, very interested in all that sort of thing. I got a job working for a local production company after school when I was in high school. And I just, as I got a little bit older, when I was 18, I graduated from, I graduated when I was 17. And in that next year, when I was going to college, I went to college locally in Little Rock, at the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. I also took a job with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and worked in their I&E department and did video production with a couple of other guys. And so I just thought it would be so cool if I could put together somehow hunting and video, make a TV show, that sort of thing. And so, I did a little bit of that sort of thing when I was working at the Game and Fish Commission. That went on for a couple of years, but I just had a dream of wanting to do an outdoor show. And at the time, in the late 80s, early 90s, there was not that much stuff out there for hunting. There was fishing that you could see on TV, but not a lot of hunting. And so probably about 92, I met a few guys that a lot older than me. I was, 21, 22 years old. I met some guys that were older than me that worked in radio, that worked in newspaper, magazine writers, that sort of thing. And we kind of collaborated a little bit and decided we wanted to try to do an outdoor show. And so we began shooting footage of turkey hunting and duck hunting and deer hunting, and that kind of went on for a few years. And then at one point I went to the SHOT Show, which is an outdoor trade show for professionals in the outdoor industry. It's for big companies that are selling their products, and then stores that, local mom and pop stores or whatever, send representatives to that show, and they come and look at, whatever is available, the newest hunting products and outdoor products. And so I went to that because I knew that there was, people that were representatives of some of the networks. At the time, the only networks that you could see outdoor television on a national, basis was TNN, the Nashville network, and then ESPN. And so I knew that
Now,
those
what
guys.
year was this about?
That would have been 1996.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I called and talked with a guy named Dave Barton with TNN, and I asked him if he was going to be at the SHOT Show, and which I knew he was going to be there, and he says yes. And I said, I'd like to come visit with you about a television program, and I've got a little pilot that I put together for it, and would you be interested in sitting down with me? And he said, sure, that would be fine. And so I took my little videotape. Listen, I could talk for like an hour and a half on the story, so I'll try to cut it short. But basically, I wound up sitting down talking with him, showed him a little 10-minute video of what the show concept was, and he said, "Man, this is an incredible idea." And the name of it was Adventure Bound Outdoors, and it was a magazine format outdoor show, which, at the time, a magazine format was a fairly popular type of format in mainstream television, but not in outdoors. This was in the time when, Ducks Unlimited had their own television show. You had Buckmasters, you had Mossy Oak, you had Realtree had their own show. There's really maybe 6 or 8 hunting shows, and then probably a few more than that in fishing shows. And that was really all that you could see. And it only came on Saturdays and Sundays. And so, but nobody was really doing a magazine format show except Hank Parker, and his was all fishing. And so,
well, let me stop you for something. Can you give a little detail on what you mean by a magazine format show?
Yeah, magazine format show means you got a bunch of different segments that are kind of encapsulated in, this segment is a tip segment. This segment is a hunting, segment in whatever, duck hunting segment. And then this segment is going to be a cooking segment. And
Gotcha.
then this segment is a, like behind the scenes at a whatever, this is how they make, a duck call or whatever, that kind of thing. And so every show was not just 30 minutes of a hunt. It would be, lots of different things. And so that was very intriguing to the networks because nobody'd really done that for a hunting show at the time. And so I pitched them the idea. They said, we love it. And we want to get back with you and kind of talk about how we do this. And so a couple of weeks later, I get a call from Dave Barton. He said, we want to buy your show, except we just got bought out by Viacom, and that owned MTV Network and a bunch of other companies and other television networks and stuff like that. And they said, we're no longer buying TV shows. We are now going to be selling the time to the net, from the network to the producers, and it's going to cost you $1 million a year. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. But he said the Outdoor Channel is going to be launching, and it's going to be 24/7 hunting and fishing. And you need to talk to these people. And he gave me the executive vice president's name and phone number. And I called and visited with them, and they were launching that fall. And so, we went into production and, had a sweet deal with them and kind of went on from there. The show, twofold, the idea that we had in bringing the show out was, number one, to show our passion and love for the outdoors and doing it in a high quality way, because that's what my background in is film and television production, not just a couple of guys with camcorders that can go out there and, shoot video. I mean, it was something that was, very well done, very high quality. We had really nice, expensive cameras, all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, we also wanted to tell people how that we see, how the Lord, is in nature and in the outdoors. And that's a big part of, of what we did through Adventure Outdoors. It was a faith-based show. It was the very first one of its kind. And, it was, every show we had a little, what we called a spiritual nugget, that we would talk about a specific aspect of something that may have happened within the program, and then how it relates to, what God thinks about something, or how, it would point people to the Lord.
That's fantastic. You and I, when you were here in Kansas City, we talked a lot about your show on the Outdoor Channel. I just find it so fascinating. And since that time, and since you got out of it, you made the switch from the more traditional TV shows and started your own YouTube channel. So can you kind of give your thoughts on kind of the waterfowl production TV shows versus YouTube, and why you felt like it was a better idea for you to move to YouTube and off of traditional TV?
Yeah, I mean, television. Uh, First of all, the outdoor television market has been eroding for years. I mean, I was telling you before, you know, the television producers buy the time from the networks. It's the only that's the only business model in television that I know of that does that. Pretty much all the networks buy the programs from the studios and the network and the producers, and instead of the other way around. And so it sets up the whole television deal to be, it's just very flawed, because it makes producers kind of make their shows into infomercials. That's why everybody's sponsoring this, and oh, I couldn't have done it without this product, and blah blah blah. And we all had to do that. I tried my very best to make it more applicable to a storyline and not just be just screaming out names of product all the time. But so that started very early. I got out of doing full time outdoor programming. I produced a bunch of programs. I produced stuff for the NRA. I produced stuff for Drake, and I worked with Mojo and a lot of those waterfowl shows. And I just kind of got out of it because I couldn't make a living doing it, number one, and a lot of it is just simply because that the market was eroded with so many people trying to do it that just wanted to be on TV, and they would throw their money at it for a year or two, and then they figure out that they can't make any money at it, and they quit. And the only ones that were left are the companies that are trying to sell products, and then they the Mossy Oaks and Real Trees and those kind of companies that can afford to market their products by having their own show. And so, I really have had a passion to do it, since I was a little kid, sharing what we see and what we do and what we love, to the masses, and, telling stories. That's what I love to do. I love to tell stories through films and videos, and, even talking about it, I guess. But, so when I looked at YouTube, I sat in a bunch of meetings in at some different conferences and stuff, just mainstream type deals, and all the professionals were telling us 10 years ago that television is going to slowly be going away anyway, and we need to figure out how to start distributing our projects online. And YouTube was something that a lot of people were talking about back then. It never, for me, YouTube was never a viable option for the type of projects and productions that I worked on, because I just felt like, coming from the standpoint, I felt like I was going to have to be dumbing down what I did too much. How can I afford to have $50,000 cameras, making videos that, when everybody else is using their iPhones and using little $500 cameras and stuff like that, and so, that's kind of the perspective that I had for a long time. And finally, a couple of years ago, I started, I came up with the idea with surviving duck season. I thought, I think that people would be interested in, hearing some things that, that we, things that we know. We teach people some things about duck hunting, because you just, you look at some of these message boards on, or, Facebook groups and all that. People are talking about, complaining about this and that, asking questions about this and that. And a lot of people just aren't getting good information. And so I thought, maybe I can bring out a channel and kind of help people understand some things that we know. I mean, I don't claim to be a know-it-all about anything. I know what I know. I know what works for me. And just because it works for me here where I hunt doesn't necessarily mean it works for everybody everywhere else, but at least I can share what works for me. And that's kind of what we've decided to do, along with, kind of talking about what we do to survive duck season, because we hunt every single day. And I've done that for a lot of my life, duck hunt, not just during the 60 days of Arkansas season, but also I travel to other states, before our season opens. And when we have our splits, I'll go to, somewhere else and do that then. And so, what is the grind that everybody talks about? I mean, there may be a grind if you hunt 2 days a week, but there's really a grind when you hunt every single day of the week. And being a duck hunting guide, it's your job. You got to go, even if it's not going to be good, or even if you're worn out and tired and didn't get any sleep last night, you're not sleeping in. And so we thought it'd be great to show some of those things and show some great hunts and show some, perspectives to, from some other people that do what I do in other parts of the country. And so that's kind of what we've set out to do with Surviving Duck Season.
Real quick on
And its growth rate is much faster than most waterfowl YouTube channels. So you're doing an excellent job with it.
Well, thank you.
real quick on the guiding aspect you're talking about there, and that's pretty crazy. Thinking about hunting every single day. And I hunt a lot, but I don't hunt every single day. So as far as guiding goes on that, are you guiding every single day then, or do you take days where you get to hunt yourself? And then kind of two-pronged question. You said you travel a bit before season and during your splits. Is that travel to guide other places, or are you getting on some duck hunting trips there?
Yeah, well, just mainly going hunting just for the fun of it. I'm not guiding anywhere else other than what I do in Arkansas. But I just, I went to Alaska back earlier in the fall, and last year I went to Cape Cod and went sea duck hunting there, and I went with Elliot to Kansas back at the beginning of the Kansas season, and so just different places. I went to Texas last year. I've duck hunted in I think 40 states, and then six provinces of Canada, and Mexico. Haven't done the Argentina thing. I'd like to do that. But anyway, to answer your question though about the hunting every day of duck season, yes, I guide every day of Arkansas season. There's a few days near the beginning of the season. We don't normally book up every day of our first split, which is it runs right before Thanksgiving through the Thanksgiving weekend. So it's like 10 days in there. And we don't usually guide people on Thanksgiving because most people aren't traveling to go do that. Then there's a few days in there that we don't book up just because early season can be dicey, and we don't like to book it in if we don't feel like it's going to be a good chance that we're going to do well. So we usually leave a lot of dates open and only book about maybe 5 or 6 days of the first 10 days of the season. But so we'll buddy hunt between us guides and stuff, on some of those other days if we've got a place to hunt that we feel like we're not going to be burning it up too much. And occasionally we may not be totally booked up at our lodge where, we may not need 4 guides to hunt. And so sometimes I'll jump in with one of the other groups and we'll hunt with them. And sometimes we'll, me and one of the guys or me and a buddy will go out and just hunt a different spot and kind of, check out a spot and see how it's going to do if we've never hunted an area, or a particular blind. Just kind of, we get because we get new places every year. We added like 900 acres to our deal this year, and so it's a learning process to kind of figure out how some of those places hunt. So we do a little bit of that, but people ask me that question all the time, especially people that have never hunted with us before. They ask me about that. Do you get to hunt on your own? Do you have to hunt? You have to guide every day? I'll be honest with you. My entire hunting career since my early 20s, I've kind of been a guide. Even when I wasn't being paid, I've always been the guy that had a duck call and a dog and a boat and the place to go to, and everybody else that went with me would kind of look to me as the leader, and they would let me call the shots and call the ducks and work the dog and all that. And so, even if I wasn't really being paid to be a guide, it kind of was a guide because I was taking my buddies, showing them how to duck hunt. And so that's fun for me. I don't have to pull the trigger. Sure, that's fun, but it's fun for me to take people on experiences and show them a good time and show them how you can work ducks in close and get them to land, and geese, and get those suckers to come right in and land at your feet. And the joy to me is blowing the duck call and working my dog. That's what does it for me.
So over the course of a season, because I know when I was with you, it seems like you have your gun with you and you do a lot of cleanup and cripple kills. Do you ever just have days you're like, oh my gosh, I wish today I could just unload and shoot on these great passes we're getting? Do you ever have that emotion?
Yeah, I mean, and I do sometimes. I mean, there's no. I mean, I let the customer shoot. Most of them ask me to shoot, encourage me to shoot too, and I do sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know. I think the first 6 or 7 days I duck hunted this year, I think I shot like 5 shells.
Mhm.
And that's okay. But it, if we're having a decent day, or if there's a great big bunch of birds coming in, I'm gonna jump in there and do it too. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, yeah. So mostly because I know when I was there and I was filming with you, or I was filming too. To me, it's a balance of when do I pick up the shotgun, when do I video, and so in my thought, what I wanted to do was if there's 1, 2, or 3 ducks, let the rest of the group take it. But if we had a little bigger group, then that's when I was going to try to jump in and pull the trigger. Is that kind of your same thinking a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, and I watch what happens too. I mean, uh, most of the time, I mean, everybody wants to see ducks fall. I mean, sure, guys want to shoot a duck. I want to kill a duck. And granted, that's true, but a lot of guys, they can't hit them. And so I watch the first couple of volleys and see what happens, and sometimes I think, well, I'm going to need the help. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, I don't get into this. Well, I'm going to shoot your limit. I mean, that's illegal. We don't do that. I mean, but I'm gonna shoot and make a few ducks fall, right? And if
Sure,
I know that
sure.
they're not hitting them, they know I'm hitting them. They know I'm shooting too. They see it, and they say, "Did you hit that duck?" Yeah. And I said, well, that's okay. We were going to hit him anyway. And it helps. I mean, I think most people's problem is they try to shoot too fast. They don't take their time because they're so worried about their buddy is going to shoot before they do, that they rush their shot. I mean, we talked about this, Elliot. Before you and
Yeah.
I did, but I think that's you if the Ducks are really doing like we want them to, and they're really kind of finishing, you got more time than you think you do. And often, when I'm shooting with my buddies, or shooting with the group that's hunting with us, I don't have to be the first guy to shoot, even on one duck, because there's a lot of times everybody whiffs, or they shoot and kind of hit it a little bit, and then okay, bow, and I finish it off, because everybody's run out of shells. So it's okay to be that guy. I mean, if you got a bunch of sharpshooters in there, I mean, if I'm taking all my guide, if me and all my guide buddies are going hunting, then, you're gonna have to be Johnny on the spot, or you're not gonna get to shoot.
So here's a
Yeah.
question about having Elliot out there. I know he was out there recently, and I kind of asked him this as well in one of the YouTube comments. But was it pretty easy to rein Elliot in? I know he's used to being in control as the ductator. So did you have any
Shut up.
did you have any trouble controlling him while he was in the blind with you?
Not at all. I mean, he in fact, I mean, a lot of the time when guys come hunting with us for the first time, and they are duck hunters, they have the impulse of wanting to pull out their duck call, and which is, I mean, it as long as it doesn't hurt what we're doing, then that's fine. I was expecting him to pull his call, and not that I was worried about it, but I mean, he never pulled his call. I don't guess you ever pulled your call at one time, did you, Elliot?
No, uh-uh.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, he's like, I'm kind of enjoying sitting back and not having to call.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind at all. I figured this is their show. I know what my role is. My role is to sit there and just either pull the trigger or video. That and I was
Yeah,
perfectly content and make sure that if there's work to be done, I'm helping with that, which is always nice when you have people with you. And I know you don't expect your customers to do that, but at the same time, if you're there and there's work to be done, everyone does a good job of jumping in and doing
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
great question, Jordan. Yeah. So I want to jump back a little bit to the topic of TV versus YouTube.
Mhm.
and ask you one more question about that. So, you've got a lot more people cutting the cable. I cut cable probably 10 years ago, so I don't I don't even know if there is still viable waterfowl shows on cable or if there's any popular ones or not. What do you feel like that hunting videos on or hunting TV shows are they completely dead? Or are they just dying? Now I know Meat Eater's still been a popular one, but do you consider them dead or dying? And where are you at with that, or where are we at right with that?
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. Okay, there are, the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel are the two probably most watched networks that have hunting programs on. They still garner a lot of eyeballs, but it's nothing like it used to be. Not even close. I mean, we would get 1 million to 1.1 million eyeballs, not eyeballs, viewers. Everybody's got two eyes. Most people do, so more than that. But I mean, we'd have 1 million plus viewers in 95, 6, 7, kind of thing, when it was on TNN and on ESPN.
And that's per
And
season?
that was per day, per
Per
viewing.
day. That's a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah. And so that was when you had like 8 hours of hunting shows in a week. Okay.
Mhm.
Maximum between two networks. And so, then when the Outdoor Channel came on, then they were scrambling, trying to fill up the network. And so, then at that point, everybody was making a show, and you had 4 or 5 good shows and 50 horrible shows. But what it did was it took eyeballs away from some of the stuff that was on TNN and ESPN. And over the years, we've had more networks pop up that have, outdoor programming, blah, blah, blah. And it's still the same 1.1 million viewers. But instead of them all being focused on one show, there's only one show that's on that has hunting on it at this time of the day. On Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning, you're watching, the World of Ducks Unlimited. That's it. You can't find a hunting show anywhere else. That's it. So that's why you got 1 million people watching it. But then, fast forward 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, into like 2004, 2005, we were pulling, 150 to 200,000 on a Tuesday night, which was pretty good, but that's a fourth of what it was 7 or 8 years before that. And then as it keeps going, the more time and the more places that people can watch content in other ways, the less people are viewing, these shows. And so, to answer your question in a long, roundabout way, is it viable? I think it's kind of viable, but as we look at, and I had this conversation with Hank Parker a couple months ago, and we talked about this, because he's been on television for 35 or so years, and he's like been bucking this. I got to stay on TV. Well, he's like picking my brain about this YouTube thing now. He's like, it's like we're not getting the views. We can't get the revenue from sponsors. They're not wanting to pay us because we don't have the same kind of numbers that we used to have, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm not doing that anymore. And so the YouTube thing, basically it's free except for your production costs and traveling and all that. So you're not having to pay to be on the thing. And you get revenue from, whatever the different, methods you can. If you're trying to sell stuff to and point people to a website, you got that opportunity. And, to be quite honest, I mean, I told Hank, I said, look, so you've been on for 35 years and you've had millions and millions of views on your content from your fishing show and your hunting shows that you've done over the years. But you look at some of these guys on YouTube and they're getting millions of views, in just a short amount of time. And some of these guys have more, and I'm talking about just in the hunting stuff, have got more views in the last 2 or 3 years than he's got in his whole 35-year career. I said, so, that to me answers the question of it. What's the viability? I mean, now, me sitting where I'm at with my little YouTube channel, I got like, I don't know, 7,500 subscribers or something. I'm not pulling a zillion views yet, but I think my potential is way better than trying to get up and going on a television show, and I love it's so different, because I mean, and I'm fighting the whole, polished production thing, and it's, having a cameraman and stuff like that. I mean, of course, I got to have a cameraman to a degree because I'm guiding duck hunters. I can't like be holding the camera and blowing a duck call and working my dog and pulling a jerk cord and all that stuff. But but it's hard for me to kind of get out of that mold that I've been fitted into about making a television show and doing it more vloggy style and all that. But I really love the interaction is so much different, with interacting with the viewers and comment section and kind of talking to more like it's my buddy there watching rather than kind of being a polished television personality.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. And on YouTube, we've talked about this before, you don't have to spend so much money with the production. And I
Yeah.
mean, YouTube viewers, a lot of them really are kind of looking for the relationship side of it. And that sounds kind of weird. I guess, I mean, it's a back and forth. YouTube, you can interact with the viewers and they get to know you personally, and versus TV, it's more just from one side out. And YouTube's just a whole totally different animal. And people are willing to watch lower production stuff on YouTube. If you put some of the stuff on YouTube on TV, I don't think anyone would watch it, because when you watch TV, you expect this high quality HD, and you get people on YouTube and they're what they're willing to sit down and watch and enjoy. It's just a different mindset, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, and it's I don't know, I do it because it's my passion. I love storytelling. I love showing people cool stuff, and I love writing and all that to kind of go along with it, and it's a great outlet. I mean, I wish I could do it a full time because I would if I could, but it's something it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. It's a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I have morphed, my original ideas into something different, and trying to change things up and following what people like and what listen to their comments and kind of respond in that way. And it's a cool deal. And I'd never thought. I mean, if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago if I thought I would be doing this, I was like, what? But it's
Yeah.
great. I love it.
And those of you that are listening, if you listen to the podcast at all, I gave an in-depth description of my trip down to Cypress Crossing with Joel. It's a couple of podcasts back from this one. So if you want to really hear me go in depth with it, you can listen to that podcast or on my YouTube channel. I had 3 hunts when I was down in Arkansas with Joel. And if you want to see what those hunts were like on my YouTube channel, Freelance Duck Hunting, I've got day 1, day 2, day 3, where I also tried to show some of the lodge, some of the meals and actually Joel is the chef at Cypress Crossing. So if you would like to go and hunt with Joel, have him prepare food for you, stay at the lodge, have this whole Arkansas Duck Club experience, it's cypresscrossingduckclub.com. Do you guys still have openings for this year, or is it booked out? Would people be talking next year?
Yeah, we're booked up all the way to the end of the season. We've only got a couple more weeks left, but we'll be booking for next year. So if anybody's interested, absolutely check us out, cypresscrossingduckclub.com.
And I would say, I mean, I am a public duck hunter to the core. That is the heart and soul of who I am and what I do. So my experience with you guys was just like it was the same sport, but it was a different world for me. Um, and I will say I enjoyed every minute of it. And my wife and I had such a fantastic time. And it wasn't just the duck hunting. It's the sitting around the lodge, hanging out with guys you don't know, watching football in the afternoon. The whole experience, man, it was so much fun. And even if you're a public land duck hunter, I wish I could do that every single year. If I could book a trip down there with you guys every single year, I'd sign up immediately, because it's fun to see how people do things differently, and just the experience of that side of things versus mine. So you guys have it's like a well-oiled machine the way it runs, really. I mean, with the hunt, then breakfast, then just kind of lounge around, sometimes an afternoon hunt, then dinner. And it's just, I mean, you guys run that thing, so it's such an organized operation.
Well, if we didn't have it organized, I think we would all be Looney Tunes. I mean, you kind of have to if you're doing it every day, right?
It's probably almost like Groundhog Day, the movie Groundhog Day for you,
Yeah,
though. I mean, because those days are exactly the same, minus how the duck hunting goes.
I can tell you this, and that's something that my wife and I have talked about for years. It's like every day, it's like Groundhog Day, and you know, it's like, I mean, it's like literally every day. I mean, from getting up, get the dog ready, put her in the truck, head over to the lodge, pick the guys up, and all that, and then when the guys get in, it's like you're having the exact same conversation every day. I mean, it's like they ask the same questions. It's like I could just have some flashcards, set them on the dash and just start handing them out, because I know what they're going to ask. How's the hunting been? Where are we going? What's it like? How deep's the water? What kind of ducks you shoot? It's just like, and then on and on and on.
And how many times do you talk to people about the proper way to cook duck? Because I know you had a long
Oh,
conversation. I bet you have that conversation twice a week.
oh yeah. I mean, every time we cook duck, then I've got like an audience, like, or the next day after they had the duck dish, because we cook the duck dish for most groups that come in. Most groups come in, they'll stay like 3 days, and we try our very best, as long as there's not too many overlaps. We try to plan it where everybody gets to have the duck dish, because everybody loves that thing that we do. But anyway, either while I'm preparing it or after, like the next day, people in the blind, they go, "Man, what the heck did you do?" And then we were giving lessons out. So, which I love doing that. I love helping people, because I want everybody to love to eat duck, because we're out there. I mean, there's so many people that they go duck hunting and they don't like to eat duck. And, I mean, we can go on about that too for a long time, but I mean, don't overcook your duck. You make it taste like liver. Most people don't like liver, so that's why they don't like duck.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got my wife to not just eat duck, but to really, really like it. So I mean, you win the gold star for that one.
Yeah, definitely. We actually,
That's,
I tried to get her to eat duck as well when we did our teal hunting in September, and she wouldn't touch it. So whatever you did was must have been magic.
Yeah.
prepare it like you do a steak.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And Jordan, the steaks that they slapped on our plate the last night that I was there were so big that we were actually making fun of the one guy that finished his steak. It was huge.
So how can it be
I
that?
actually snuck mine back into the room. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to throw it away, so I snuck it back into my room in napkins.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think probably right now is a good point to go ahead and wrap it up. But we really appreciate you coming on, Joel, and sharing a lot of your insight from the Arkansas duck hunting guide live to the television industry, and how that's kind of differed through the ages, or the ages. Wow, make it sound like it's forever, but through the years. But yeah, any closing words you'd like to say, or as well let people know where they can find you across social media?
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I enjoyed visiting with you guys. I always love talking about hunting and all that sort of thing. You guys can check us out on Surviving Duck Season. We're on Facebook, and we're on, of course, the YouTube channel. And I'm Mr. Producer Sir is my handle, and I also have a Mr. Producer Sir YouTube channel as well. So y'all look me up and connect with me.
Awesome. Any last words, Elliot?
I just hope I can get you to come back out to Kansas next year, Joel, where maybe we can get it on where it's not opening day. That was really, really fun. And I felt like you just bonded with the whole Golden Boy and the whole crew immediately. So I'm hoping that maybe a little more often you might be wanting to come out to Kansas.
I'd love to, absolutely.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Alrighty, folks. I am Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles, Elliot from Freelance Duck Hunting, and Joel from Surviving Duck Season. And we'll see you guys next time. Alrighty, YouTube gang. Thanks for sticking with us for another episode. Been a blast. And unless you guys got anything else, actually, real quick, if you guys want to write in the comments before we go off this live stream, let us know how you guys feel about this time slot. We actually pushed it back a little bit tonight. Just kind of curious how everybody in the live stream feels about it being later.
I can tell you I like it later. I have a lot more energy at 8 o'clock than I do at 5:30. I'm still tired from work at 5:30.
Well, it might be worth talking about switching the time then.
Yeah,
So-
that would be my personal preference. We can do whatever, but yeah, put that in the comment section, guys. Is this a good time slot for you? And what your thoughts
Yep.
are on that.
And we'll probably put a pool over in Fellowship the Nut Gun as well. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just change it. So
Yeah, we'll do whatever we want. And those of you, if you're not subscribers to Joel's channel, get over there right now, Surviving Duck Season, and check it out. His recent video is of from when I was down there with him. So go and check that out like right now. They probably already have, but if you haven't.
alrighty. We got a couple people seeing it's a better time, so